Hello, I am so excited to share this training with you today. This is going to be the difference between going through the motions in the gym and not seeing any progress and actually getting results from the work that you're doing in the gym. So, today's training is how to use progressive overload to build muscle and burn fat, which is all of our goal, I'm sure. So, covered in this training is going to be why progressive overload is important, how to do progressive overload and use it in your workouts step by step, how your workout should feel from the deload phase all the way to failure. And then also I'll cover some common mistakes that could kill your progress, which we want to avoid. So let's start off with, why is progressive overload important? Well, this is a tool that your body is going to use to build muscle. If the body is not going to be challenged to do more than it's done in the past, it really has no reason for change. So for women, if we're using the same weight for months and months and months, if we're always just like trying to feel sore instead of, actually building our strength, if we're getting confused on, being sweaty as being effective, those things can be a distraction. Your metabolism does not increase because you get tired or because you get hot and sweaty. It increases when you actually build muscle and put more muscle onto your body. So more muscle is going to equal a lot of things. Higher resting metabolic rate. It's going to be better body composition. You're going to be stronger and look tighter, right? And then also it's going to be better for your long-term fat loss. So what needs to happen is your weights and reps, they need to change. If they never change, your body will not either. So here's some simple step-by-step progressive overload blueprint that you can use to figure out how do I do that, right? What does this look like for my workouts? So step one is understanding your rep range. In most of the workouts that we program, we will put a range of reps. So it might say something like 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. Well, what that means is you're going to pick a weight that you can perform for 8 reps with good form. Starting with the low end of the rep range is where we want to start for our first week. So fewer reps, it should feel maybe a little bit on the easier side, but our goal each week is to be able to increase the reps within that range. So we're going to stay with that 8 to 12 rep range, but gradually increase reps. Once we get to the top end of our rep range, so we hit 12 reps on all the sets, that is our indication that it's time to increase the weight to go heavier. When we increase the weight, most of the time that means that we get fewer reps, right? Because it's harder, it's more weight that we're pushing. So you may drop back to 8 reps and then you're gonna build that process again. An example of what that would look like with each week and the weight that's being used. Week 1, for example, would be 8 reps at 20 pounds, 3 times, right? 8, 8, 8, 20 pounds. Then week 2, we're increasing reps. So it could be 10 reps, and then maybe we can't quite get 10, so we end up with 8. Week 3, we're pushing it again, right? We're getting stronger each week. We get 12 reps at the same weight, 20 pounds still, 12, 10, 10. Week 4, you're still at the same weight, but that rep range is increasing, 12, 12, 12. Well, what does that mean? It's time to bump up the weight. We've hit 12 reps, that's the top of our rep range. And so the next week we are going up, we're going heavier. We'll increase to 25 pounds. Well, when that weight increases, what happens to the reps? They drop back down. That is progressive overload in action. This is exactly what we want to see within your workouts. Now, is it going to move in this specific rep range every single workout, every single exercise? Maybe not. Some might take you a little bit longer to be able to increase the reps or increase the weight. And so you just really need to know how that feels, right? The goal is each week you're getting stronger, but you're also pushing yourself harder. So step 2, this is what progressive overload looks like in real life. So let's take an actual exercise like Romanian deadlifts. That's a straight leg deadlift. Your rep range, let's say, is 8 to 10. Keep it simple and short. And we're going to do 3 sets. So week 1, we're using 25-pound dumbbells, 8 reps, 8 reps, 8 reps. The effort level on that first week is, let's say, a 6 out of 10. Maybe you've got 3 to 4 reps left in the tank. So, you get to 8, but you really probably could do a few more, but you don't, because we're not going to failure on that first week. This is our deload week. It's the lightest week. It's getting used to the motions. It's getting used to the movement patterns, the exercises that are in your workout. Our goal in week 1 is not to go as heavy and hard as possible. It's to focus on form and technique. So it'll feel a little bit light, right? So that's what we're focusing on. Week 2, this is your second week in your training phase. Same lift. We're bumping the weight to 25 pounds, right? Or we're keeping the weight at 25 pounds. This time we're bumping up the reps. So we were 8, 8, 8. This time we're jumping to 10, 10, and then 8. Now, by going heavier or going more reps, either one, the effort's going to feel different, right? You're going to be noticing that it's maybe a little bit harder. So our effort on week 2 is a 7 out of 10. Another option, if you don't want to just increase your reps, would be to bump the weight up, right? You could bump it up to 30 and keep 8, 8, 8. Now, you'll be able to make that decision based on how that really felt to you. If it felt really easy, you might want to bump the weight. If it felt like still pretty challenging, increase reps. You can make the decision on how you want that progression to look. But the focus on week 2 is to begin to challenge yourself. It's starting to feel a little bit harder, and you're not just breezing through it. Week 3, we're pushing even more. So this is like where you're really getting into those working sets. Maybe we're up to 30 pounds now. We're trying to increase weight and reps. So you're doing more reps. That effort level at week 3 should feel like an 8 out of 10. That means that those last few reps, you're really going to start to slow down. You're going to be working really hard. You're not going to be cruising right through it. You're not going to have, lots of reps in reserve. It's going to be starting to feel really quite a bit more challenging towards the end. However, we're not to failure yet. Week 4 in our 4-week training phase, this is going to be peak week, right? The max sets are your final week. This is where you get close to that failure range. So maybe we're still at 30 pounds, but we're at the top end of the rep range. So we've got 10 reps, 9 reps, maybe you get 10 on the last one. Your effort should be a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10 means I cannot perform another clean rep with good form. So that last week of your training phase, as we're progressing, we're getting stronger, yes, but we're also changing the intensity of your workouts. We're making those feel harder. So what we want to kind of watch out for, though, even though it's getting harder, we don't want to go super sloppy. We don't want to lose form to the point that, your like technique falls apart. We don't want to just go for ego and lift it because we're trying to hit a number, right? We still want to have good form, but it definitely should start to feel hard. Now, let's talk about how your workouts should feel, because I think the feeling of it is really important, not just following the reps, but how does that change in reps or weight feel on your body? That's really what we're watching for. Week 1 in the deload, like I mentioned, 6 out of 10 effort. Reps are controlled. You leave feeling strong still, like, you could have done more probably, but everything feels really good. Week 2, we're building that intensity up. We're going a 7 out of 10 for effort. It's challenging, but not a full out max week. Week 3 is we're pushing hard now, right? It's an 8 out of 10 on effort. You're kind of grinding to get those last final reps, but you haven't failed at anything. Okay, then we're on the final week, week 4. This is peak effort, max effort on everything. A 9 or a 10 out of 10. You are focused. All those reps are earned. You really shouldn't feel like every single week that you're leaving feeling that destroyed feeling. With progressive overload, that training intensity builds. So it's not going to max effort every single week. What would happen if we did that is we would have burnout and we would have injury. So smart training builds up from, that starting point of your deload week, increasing intensity, increasing your progression through reps and through weight until you get to your final week of the training phase in which you're peaking. So you're going your heaviest at the end. And then what happens? We reset. So we usually switch to a new training block where you start the process over again. Maybe workouts change a little bit, exercises change some, but it's that process of starting, building it up to the peak, and then starting back over. And the truth is, each time you restart your training phase, you're still stronger than what you were in the beginning. I have just a screenshot of a few of some of these progressions from the app so that you can kind of see what this looks like. Okay, so the top is most recent. The bottom is in the beginning. So let me zoom out here a little bit more. Okay, so this is for our sumo deadlifts. So through the phase, started at the beginning, the first sets were 135 pounds. They were able to get 10 reps. So that was week 1. Okay, the next week they went up in weight to 155. Reps had to go down, but got 9. The week after that, we're at 155 again, increased the reps, got 10. The week after that, they pushed the weight up and said, okay, I'm going to go hardest. Ended up cutting reps back to 8, but that was still a nice strong push, right? Increasing the weight each time or the reps. Here's another example. And this one started at the bottom here at 65 pounds. Reps ended up being a little bit on the higher side. So she knew right away, okay, I need to bump up my weight. Went up to 75 the next week, still got 10. So she's like, okay, I'm feeling strong. I'm going to bump up again. Went to 85 and realized, okay, I got to back the reps off just a little bit. Not quite ready for 10 reps. But in the final week, hit those 10 reps again at 85 versus 65. Okay, here's the other one with glute drive. Started at 25 pounds and was able to get 12 reps on that first week. That told us, okay, we're definitely ready to go up. Got 10 reps at 35, then 12, then bumped up the weight again. Okay, so you see it's a progression of either increasing the weight or increasing the reps throughout the training phase. Same thing on kickbacks. Weight goes up every week, looking good there. Okay, so let's go over some common mistakes because I think this is important to know what to try to avoid. First of all, staying the same weight forever. We don't want to do that. That is basically, it's exercise, but you're not going to see change in your body. You're not going to make progress in how you look and how strong you are if the weight never changes. So try to avoid that. Really try to push yourself and challenge yourself to move up and build that strength over time. Second mistake is you're just trying to, find that sore feeling. A lot of times we'll feel sore when we have a new training program or like a new set of exercises because our body's getting used to that. So week 1, people are usually sore, even though they're not pushing the hardest in week 1. Every now and then, as you bump up to a new weight or get a few extra reps, you might feel that soreness come back, but really you shouldn't be sore the whole time that we're training, because throughout our training phase, if we're doing it correctly, we're building up your body's tolerance and strength as you go through that. Also, we shouldn't be going to failure in every single workout. Final week, yes, but building up to it, no, we don't jump right in and try to fail. We start lighter and build up that training intensity. Other mistakes, skipping the deload week. It can be tempting, right? When we change over and you've been going heavy, it feels like, oh, I shouldn't be backing off. I shouldn't be taking it easy this week with this new set of workouts. But that deload is really important for letting the body rest and recover and allowing you to break through plateaus without causing injury or burnout. So when it's time to deload, back off on the weight again, do it. Take that as an opportunity to let your body get used to the new movements and then build that intensity over time. Also, not tracking your reps. If you don't know what you've done in the past, how are you going to know if you're progressing? How are you going to know if you're pushing yourself? And just trying to keep it up here is not a really good and efficient way of keeping track of what your progress is. Remember, being sore does not mean that it's effective. Being strong, getting stronger, does. That means you're effective in your workouts. So the final take on this is really we don't need all the things that we're thinking about to get these changes. We don't need the fancy supplements, the detox teas, these hormone fixing workouts. What we need is the building blocks for success. Your protein, support your muscle growth. Consistency, you got to do it over and over and over again. And you can't miss workouts all the time, right? You got to have that consistently going. You got to get your step count up. We have to be moving throughout the day, because one workout, that 45 minutes to an hour that you spend in the gym, is not going to be enough to really make a big shift in the way your body looks. We need that outside of the gym activity increased as well. And then lastly, progressive overload is the key to changing your body when you're working out in the gym. So make sure you're doing it. Track your reps, try to beat your numbers each week, and that combined with your consistency is what's going to build and change your body. So hopefully this is helpful, and as you're going through your workouts and trying this form of tracking and this form of pushing yourself in the gym, reach out to your coaches anytime you have questions. Anytime you have questions on form, we're happy to check out your videos of any of your exercises that you want reviewed. And just don't be afraid to challenge yourself. I think a lot of women get a little bit nervous that they don't want to try those heavier weights. Do it. Keep pushing yourself, and if you build up progressively, like this plan has us intentionally doing it, increasing a little bit over time, you're going to be building a stronger body, and you're going to be protecting yourself, preventing injury, and just overall getting your results a lot quicker. So good luck with that.